der zentralen Position. Nur Schwarze Haller da Vorsicht. Dann ist es Fjørtoft. Er ist im Strafraum. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht. 5:1. Herrlich!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. Plenty to discuss as we dissect the Bundesliga round plus some cup games. And as always, Dad, you are here to join me. Before we go into the various games and analysis, tell the audience what you've been up to lately.
Yeah, and I'm very excited what you were up to on the weekend, because as a dad, I was a bit afraid of your project. So I think we could start with you. I think we could start with you. What did you do this weekend?
Well, I've just about recovered, so this podcast comes at a good timing. But long story short, we climbed the three highest peaks of the UK, or dare I say, the highest peak in Scotland, England, Wales, and aim to do that in 24 hours. We did it just a bit past that because it's a bit tougher in the winter. But with limited sleep, a lot of camaraderie and courage, we got through it, and a fantastic experience for people who haven't seen UK from that side. It's not quite Norway, Dad, but it's close at its very best.
And we know, I guess the one of the was Pine, was it? Was it by Sheffield? Well, because
I always mix it up because we went to Lake District and then Sheffield is what, Pine District?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mixed those two up. So my geography.
I was so glad when you were there, because you were there as a kid and we were climbing there. So I thought that won't be hard, but it was for charity, wasn't it?
Yes, it was for Live and Kicking, who do a lot of charity work through football, amongst them designing footballs and going to underserved communities in countries such as Kenya and Zambia. So a great thing that I would be able to be a part of through my friend Liam, who's ambassador, and others in the team. So a fantastic experience to see UK from that point of view, and then from one thing to another, because it did remind me a bit of when I go home to the grandparents where you're from, because you were there in at home now, and it was doing the rounds on ESPN of you running around and attending an event for Karsten Warum, which also has a communal and very beneficial aspect to it.
Absolutely, and I thought I was starting with what I did from Saturday on, but yes, on Thursday I started in the Christian Warholm Invitational, which is from sport quality, brilliant, some great athletes, and of course the biggest star being Karsten Warholm, who won the World Championship, of course, on Olympic goals on 400-meter hurdles. And if you don't know about 400-meter hurdles, Edwin Moses was there as well. It was fun to see him again. I worked with him at WADA. He was the representative of the athletes at WADA. But yes, I said yes to be a part of the relay team. Yes, I have 1 foot. I did all my best to win the competition of 1 foot. And ESPN get hold of it. Yeah, let's put it this way. There is a reason I haven't spun it too much on my Twitter account. So I passed the next one, but it was great to be a part of that. And Karsten Warholm is a great lad, and I love to be with him in my hometown sold-out indoor hall. It was fantastic. Saturday, I went to Everton-Arsenal. Everton beating your team, Arsenal, 1-0, deservedly.
Kind of one of those things you knew was going to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah, Arsenal fan will always say that, but I think there will be games this season that Arsenal has kind of proved that they could stand up for that. But Everton was like we all expected them to be with short dice.
Yeah.
I mean, they get into that, stuck into them, and on a set piece. And a lot of people say because you saw how they tried to do their set pieces, there was a long on the second post and the ball back in again. And the goal, it ended up with Martin Ødegaard marking the guy who scored a goal. There must be something wrong in that setup. But anyway, I think that Arsenal now playing Brentford, I think Arsenal will again go back to the winning streak. So the next day, I went to the neighbour Tottenham. Could Tottenham help them playing Manchester City? And they could, absolutely. And Harry Kane made his 200th Premier League goal. He beat the record of the one and only Jimmy Greaves as the most scoring Tottenham player. And in my role as an interviewer, I had a pleasure to both interview Sean Dyche on Saturday, which was a great experience because he is a charismatic guy, and I love the way he communicates. And Harry Kane, and I also managed to get a small question about all the speculation in and around Germany. A lot have been said, and I wanted to do it in a diplomatic way because it was all about Premier League. But he was diplomatic in his answer. I guess Bayern will say, well, he didn't say no. But yes, it was good. And then Monday, Marcus, I went to Frankfurt because the CEO of Eintracht Frankfurt, Axel Hellmann, who is now a very prolific figure in German football, he was made an honorable consul of Norway. And you may ask, did you, Dad, have something to do with that? Yeah, I had a bit. There was, I was a part of that event, and it was great to be on the stage with Axel, coming to the Profi camp, coming to the stadium of Eintracht Frankfurt. It was in the Norwegian colors, the Horse Stadium. There were Norwegian flags in and around the Profi camp, which they call it. That is the new headquarters of Eintracht Frankfurt. And the Norwegian ambassador to Germany, Torgeir Larsen, was there, also a lot into football. So it was great. It was a brilliant story. Fantastic. And I was great to be a part of that. And I was named then the chairman of a new project that we're doing, which is Friends of Norway, where we try to get people from sport, media, culture, business, politics together and create a platform for Norwegians and Germans. So that was a good new job or a new task for me.
Productive and varied as always, Dad. And you're also providing a great segue into what we're discussing, the German football podcast, the Bundesliga, and the German Cup for that matter. You mentioned both Bayern and Eintracht. Because I have the shirt on, because you mentioned Axel Hellmann, because they played in the Cup yesterday, let's start with Eintracht. A Kolomwani who can't stop scoring, and Eintracht, I believe, are undefeated since the ninth round of the Bundesliga. I saw in Kicker there was a front side, I believe, mention of Eintracht about their constant rebuilding. We've spoken about this briefly in terms of the recruitment, in terms of the profiles they're getting in terms of the profiles they're able to sell on for huge value. Mentioned Axel Hellmann, we have Markus Krösche as well, Oliver Glasner. Explain what is it that makes Eintracht such a successful and sustainable club in relation. I mean, yes, they're a big profile, but also, you know, they are competing with people or clubs above their weight. What is it that makes Eintracht Frankfurt such a successful club right now?
Yeah, first of all, it's no coincidence because they suddenly were good this year. They built up this club. They started with Freddy Bobic and Adi Hütter, or it started with Kovac when they won the cup final, and then they kind of slowly but steady developed the club. I think one of the reasons is that they have a great balance in the club. You will mention some names there, but there is a club that, when they say they're going to be top 4 in Germany, if that is the goal and the normal target, because they didn't get into Champions League, they want to make sure that everything they do at the club is top 4. Being, I was speaking about the new headquarters. I was speaking about the stadium. I'm speaking about the passionate fans that a lot of people have seen in the Europa League. So they have a lot of people in and around the club that is doing so well for them. And then, of course, the highlight, winning the Europa League when they beat Rangers in Sevilla, which was a highlight, and they managed to build on that. And now they're playing Napoli. I mean, maybe the best team in the world.
Can't wait for that matchup.
Yeah, that was going to be a fantastic game for them. And yes, I was also able to have some time with Markus Krösche when I was there. We were sitting down and we talked about this. And Markus Krösche and Oliver Glasner, of course, the two head of sport, they have a fantastic future in the game. Not only a future, they have a fantastic present in the game. It's always interesting to speak to Markus Krösche because he got this mixture of his football background, but also the business background, and also his strategic DNA. He's always thinking ahead. He's always thinking of which player can I leave, out. Which player can I bring in? Which player will I do in to do a job? Which will I bring in to develop, to sell? And I mean, the biggest success at the moment is Colomwani. It's unbelievable. The way we have trouble now, Marcus, because there's so many games in Germany. So as we are speaking, we are waiting for the second part of the cup game this season. Tonight, as we are speaking, Dortmund will play. But Mwani now in 2 games, he got a double pach, also 2 goals. They're beating Darmstadt at home. I was watching the game. That was quite intense because Darmstadt, leader of Zweite Bundesliga, second league, they will probably go up next season. It's just around the corner for Frankfurt. So next year you will have the rivalry between Mainz, Darmstadt, and Eintracht Frankfurt. But yes, they went through, and it's just amazing to follow the club. And as I was there on Monday, met a lot of my old teammates, and the optimism and the enthusiasm in and around the club is amazing.
Sorry, I was looking to mute myself there as the police are driving past. Yeah, it is truly fantastic to see for Eintracht. I saw them yesterday, and yeah, harder than I think they would have liked, but on they go to the quarterfinals of the German Cup. Another team that's also in the quarterfinals is Bayern Munich. And having played Mainz a lot earlier than that, obviously, they seem to have been finding their groove now. That is it back to normal for Bayern Munich now?
I was talking to Christian Falk today, the Bayern true or not true man, the head of Bild Zeitung.
Our first episode was with him.
Yeah, and a great supporter of our podcast, and I'm a big fan of his. So it's no secret that on his next podcast, I'm the Hurricane insider. So we'll see how that will be. But and we were talking about it, this way that Bayern always deliver their content is like a soap opera, is like a series that is going for ages, since the 70s. And the funny part of it is that some of the actors who were in there in the 70s, then as a player, Uli Hoeneß or then later a bit Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, they are still in and around the club. I mean, yes, you said they found a groove, yes, but still there is a lot of things going outside. Since we talked last time, is of course Manuel Neuer getting injured, and Manuel Neuer then makes an interview with Honigstein, also a friend of ours, that we need to have him on the podcast. I will ask him about that, because he can talk about a bit about that interview. It's what the Germans called an unauthorized interview, meaning that the club didn't know about it. So surprise, Manuel Neuer said he was devastated. He was so disappointed that they took away his goalkeeping coach, Tapalovic, who is his best friend. He was his mate in the wedding. So he's out. A lot of reasons for that. Of course, Manuel Neuer got his disappointment. That can't be a surprise for Bayern. And Bayern reacting like Bayern, they couldn't believe that Manuel Neuer doing this, and this is so against the club, and so on and so on. The interesting part, Marcus, is that Manuel Neuer is the captain. The interesting part is also that the speculations now in Germany, is this a way to kind of not take him in away from that role, being Joshua Kimmich, being more the go-to man for Julian Nagelsmann. But the fact is also, as we're speaking today, Marcus, today Julian Nagelsmann got his goalkeeping coach that he worked with in Hoffenheim, Rechner. So he is the new goalkeeping coach. So I think there's a lot of things into this story. Some can say they kicked the man lying down. Another could say that Manuel Neuer should have been loyal. But I guess everybody will agree that it was not good of Manuel Neuer to go skiing after the World Cup, because that has weakened his position in many terms. And to be fair, one of the best goalkeepers in his generation, one of the best goalkeepers ever, the way he developed the game. There are speculations that he's played his last game for Bayern. So let's see. They have Jan Sommer, who is a great replacement.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, do you think it's just a matter of them seizing the opportunity, kind of the pivotal moment that Nagelsmann could pounce on to get in his desired candidate, a changing of the guard, so to speak, and that in fact that signals not only Neuer's departure as number one, but as captain, and bringing in the new generation, if you may, in a Kimmich.
Yeah, or Jan Sommer is just 3 years younger than Neuer, but in a goalkeeper. But Kimmich is another is another story. It's quite interesting, Marcus, because we both love English football as well, England and German football, and if you see, for example, Liverpool now, there is a lot of things, an analysis on why they are doing bad, and one of, I think, the main issue there is that Klopp has not been able to see when the players are peaking, if you know what I mean. And it's hard to say that because I listened to myself saying that. I know it's 2 minutes ago, Liverpool could win all 4 titles. So it's hard to kind of see that. But I mean, English managers and the best managers will always be compared with Sir Alex Ferguson. And Sir Alex Ferguson's great strength was to know when to take out Roy Keane, when to take out Jaap Stam, Ruud van Nistelrooy, even David Beckham. He felt it went too long with all these in and around, and they've sold him to Real Madrid. And I think that is a matter of what Bayern are into at the moment. They have a generation. Philipp Lahm, gone. He went voluntarily. Bastian Schweinsteiger found Manchester United at the time, so that was his escape route. Müller will play on forever, so he is a kind of the exception who kind of confirmed the rule. But Manuel Neuer now, 37, annoyed at him doing that, what he did, cost them, I guess, a region of 20 million euro to get a new goalkeeper, to a transfer fee, and so on and so on. Yes, so Bayern will always say, and they do say, he's the best goalkeeper in the world. We hope he'll be back. To be continued, I guess, is the right answer to your question.
I'm glad you mentioned also the likes of a Klopp, a Nagelsmann, because that brings me on to my next point in terms of, and this is from a wider perspective across the leagues, but as a coach, we're talking about some of the best coaches of their generation, in a Klopp and a Guardiola, who've had unprecedented success, Nagelsmann, who just, you know, incredibly unprecedented in terms of what he's achieved at such a young age. It's tough. It's tough in terms of, we speak of, yes, a Klopp winning almost all 4 of the trophies last year, and then here we are discussing whether he should leave or not. And I guess my question would be the challenge in staying true to the times in terms of adapting, in terms of how quickly it changes. For a Klopp, for a Guardiola, Nagelsmann, who's facing his worries. We were discussing a potential Tuchel coming in at some point, even too. Is it just a slump? Is it a style that goes out of date? Is it just fatigue in terms of, if you're around people long enough, it doesn't have the same effect as before? I don't know where I want to go with the question, but I'm hoping you can answer it.
Yeah, but I think it's the right answer, and I think that is needed a long answer, which I won't give, but I try to do what I see. I think that sometimes for Klopp as well, the intensity of the job in England is different than in Germany, because an English manager or a manager in England is more or less on his own. You have to, with a weekly press conference, you have to answer everything. There is no sport director. They have had some good recruitment in Ward and Edwards at Liverpool, but they're never to be seen. The CEO is never to be seen. The owners are never to be seen. So Klopp will have to deal with everything. That is one thing of it. In Germany, that is different. Then you have, in every club, you have 5 or 6 people in and around the club. That is challenging as well, because you will have a Uli Hoeneß sitting on a football show talking about your club. You don't have everything under control. And also how things are changing. In Germany, it's a lot of more politics. It's a lot of more politics in and around the club. You can, in a club, have 4 different people with 4 different views on big issues. And somehow you have to show to the fans and to the media that you are united. But people like myself, we're kind of there, or we talk to people, we know in so many different things. One can have one favorite being the coach. One will want to bring in Tuchel, the other one say no, and so on. That goes on all the time in Germany. And then you have Bild-Zeitung, you have Sportbild, you have Kicker, and you have the local papers playing that kind of politics. That is not the same in England, because there is a bigger space from the sports department to the media in and around. Even in Germany, you can be at the training ground a couple of 2-3 times a week to watch the session, which makes the closeness to the players more. As for Julian Nagelsmann, sometimes when he's winning, he is a young coach with fresh ideas, and when he loses, he is too young. So it's all about winning football games. But what is interesting, and I just put this up, Marcus, as an answer to it. So now Julian Nagelsmann, it seems that he is a strong man by Bayern. Say that he wanted another goalkeeping coach. Could be different reasons for that. We are not in the dressing room, but we can only speculate. It was a good timing to get your other goalkeeping coach. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that this is a theory. Manuel Neuer is not playing, so he's not there, and blah, 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 blah. So, okay, that's a theory. So, in the next couple of 3 weeks, Bayern is playing twice against PSG. Also not a bad team. Then we can end up with Julian Nagelsmann being knocked out of the Champions League the same way he was knocked out by Villarreal last season. So then Julian Nagelsmann is not so strong anymore. Who will he support? Who will support him then? Thomas Müller? Captain Manuel Neuer maybe do that. I'm just saying that how German football works, and then that goes back to the leaders, and they will say that, yeah, the standard in Germany is always the Bundesliga not enough. Okay, that's our daily title. We have to win that, and then it's go around and around and around. So that is the big challenge in German football. And Julian Nagelsmann, there's just one way for him, that is to win football games. And I guess that is the privilege, and that is the pressure to be a coach of Bayern Munich.
Someone who doesn't enjoy the pressure and enjoyment of being a head coach, at least for a bit of time, is Breitenreiter at Hoffenheim, who has been replaced by our American/Italian/German friend, Pellegrino Matarazzo. Hoffenheim lost 5-2. They started the season pretty strongly, but haven't won since October. What do we have to say about Hoffenheim's new appointment?
Well, again, a friend of mine, Alex Rosen, I played with him in Eintracht Frankfurt, one of the most promising, or I can't say promising anymore because he's been around for a long, long time, but he had to do something. When he lose 5-2 to Bochum, that is the end of Breitenreiter, who had so much success in Zurich, in Switzerland, before he came there. And our German, Italian, American coach, I always liked him. He did a good job at Stuttgart. There was a time that it was going to an end because there was a lot of struggling there. I thought there were two coaches available that I thought could be in contention. I'm not sure if they were. That was Adi Hütter, who is now off job, and Hasenhüttl, who can maybe do that. But it ended up with another solution, and they had to do something because the downfall, as you were saying, for Hoffenheim has been going on for a long time. Hoffenheim being a funny kind of club with their Dietmar Hopp, which is their almighty leader, SAP, who has built that club up. So that was not a surprise that he was fired.
Before we end, I also want to discuss Borussia Dortmund, because as the Bundesliga remains as close as ever, Union Berlin won, so they were top of the Bundesliga for a bit until Bayern won against Wolfsburg. Dortmund have very much reintroduced themselves into the frame. Now another convincing win against Freiburg, another Gio Reyna goal. But how beautiful football is that on World Cancer Day, Sebastian Haller, and I wish... One second.
Turn around.
Yeah, I got to turn around. Because I have that one. And so it's covering a lot of bases, but how beautiful is football, and how welcome of a football edition Haller is to Dortmund. And
that shirt, I got it from him. That is the shirt.
I took it. I just took it. I just love his shirt.
That is fine. Now, it was in a dressing room after a game, because he did mine Übersteiger. He did that in a game. He did the thing that I did against Kaiserslautern like 100 years ago. He did that, and Freddy Bobic told him about that Übersteiger, that's trick to score. And then we got a connection. And after after the next game I was there, I went in and we had a good chat in the dressing room. And not only for that, I followed Sebastian Haller. I always thought he was a great striker at that time for Eintracht Frankfurt with Rebic and not Kostic, helped me. He went to Real Madrid.
Why you trip us up, because we did this last time too.
Oh yeah, we did that. Okay, there were the three musketeers at the beginning, so you can Google it without people looking at it.
We always mix them up.
Kovic, no, well, whatever. He went to Real Madrid and then got on loan, and they had three great strikers at the time. So I followed Sebastian Haller. He didn't do very successful at West Ham. Then he came back to Ajax. He went back to Ajax and to goalkeeping records in Ajax. And then he was brought in for Dortmund to replace Erling Haaland. And at the time, before he even could start to produce, he got cancer. And that was the big, sad story of football. And everyone kind of supported him, followed the battle he had. And now for the Rückrunde, he was back in form, and then he scored his first goal for Dortmund in front of the yellow wall on the World Cancer Day. Sometimes football writes their own stories.
A beautiful story. And we have an Adeyemi who scored for the first time at home as well. Bellingham.
Oh, second goal in a row.
Second goal, sorry. Second goal.
Yeah, second goal in a row, but the first, but he's scoring again, and that means a lot for them. It means a lot for to get him going, because Adeyemi and Haller, they were like a two that should replace the number of goals that Erling Haaland had. And he came from Salzburg, remember, I did very well in the Champions League. So they keep going, they're scoring goals for fun. And as you were saying, now they're up there with Leipzig, with Frankfurt, with Union Berlin. And yeah, it's amazing now to see the Bundesliga.
Very, very fun and exciting to follow. And soon we have the Champions League to follow as well. Some pivotal games for our Bundesliga teams, for our Eintracht Frankfurt, and what a matchup that will be.
What is so interesting in Germany is that the stories they're there. I mean, there's always something going on in there. And we haven't even talked about Wolfsburg at home against Bayern, and Bayern do their stuff with Kohlmann getting 2 goals and some funny goals. Thomas Müller scoring again. He's always involved. And we have to mention Musiala. He had a fantastic goal again. And he got a job guarantee at Bayern. He's playing all the time. Everybody loves him. And I say it again, think of the English that lose out on him and not being in the national team. He could have played for England.
I know. Yeah. I absolutely love watching him play. So elegant. So many things to discuss. We also have Köln, Leipzig 0-0, and Leipzig not stumbling, but didn't get their win. A lot to dissect.
And Schalke clean sheet. Wow.
And Schalke clean sheet and looked all right, but they need to win against a mid-table Gladbach of the people kind of caught between in a no man's land. But there's so much to discuss.
You expect that Schalke should win away?
No, home.
Gladbach.
Home or away?
Home. Gladbach were home. And
I know. Hey, listen, it's okay to have good performances, but they need to start winning soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just saying that the Schalke fans will have a day off today or on the Monday because they did that result. So absolutely. Slowly, maybe they can turn that around. At the end, I have a great anecdote from German football. It's about my former coach, Felix Magath. Yes, he's a tough coach, but he's also a coach with a dry humor. And remember, last season, he came out of nowhere. He came out of retirement, and he saved Hertha Berlin. And he was asked now when Freddy Bobic was fired, not the coach, Freddy Bobic, the head of sport, was fired at Hertha. He was asked, Magath, would you save them again? Will you go there and save them again? And his dry answer was, no, I think this year I want to save Schalke. And he's been at Schalke as a coach, and people are laughing, but listen, he wants to save Schalke. Schalke fans, be aware, Magath could get back.
That would be a fantastic episode in of itself if he did. Dad, thank you so much, as always, for joining from Norway.
Likewise.
Pardon?
Likewise. I think that today, after your mountain climbing and my 200-meter running, we have to find the balance again today.
Yeah, we do. But always smiles. Dad, thanks a lot.
Auf Wiedersehen.